Well, 2 in 3 Australian adults are overweight or obese, but new research shows stigma and shame remain a barrier to them receiving medical care.
A bit of a stuff-up in the graphics department at 7 News in Sydney, confusing Australia's pharmaceutical benefit scheme and America's public broadcasting service. Hello, I'm Rob McKnight. With over 3 decades in television and some in radio, this is the first edition of Media McKnight for 2026. Happy New Year. Now back to that stuff-up by 7. While Australia's pharmaceutical benefit scheme and America's public broadcasting service share the same abbreviation, PBS of course, they're two very different services. And unfortunately, 7 News used the American one. But what's striking is the same story aired around the country, but no other state aired Sydney's cock-up. But it did make me wonder why there's so much duplication. Why does the same story need so many different graphic treatments, especially in the age of cost savings? Perth did use the Sydney graphic, but they took off the offending mistake. Now, there's no reason the same graphic couldn't be used in other states, as long as what Sydney supplies is double-checked, like Perth did. Meanwhile, cost savings at 9 led to an embarrassing blunder where an AI-generated video of Brisbane included multiple images of the Story Bridge. For those unfamiliar, there's only one Story Bridge in Brisbane, not 2 like we're seeing there. But the promo would have had you believe there was more than one. The Courier Mail reports the promo was made in Sydney after local promo producer Leon Cole, he was made redundant earlier this year, so everything's being done in Sydney. According to the outlet, the error was only identified after the promo had already aired on Queensland broadcasts and was subsequently withdrawn. Now that's been disputed by 9. They say the promo never went to air. Any incorrect imagery is picked up during usual production checks and processes, a spokesperson told TV Tonight. Now, before the publication of the Courier Mail story, I'd also been alerted to the error, but I couldn't find the promo in any of my recordings of various shows on 9 during the period the mistake allegedly happened. Now, I can't say for sure that the promo didn't air, but I've not been able to prove otherwise. I'm a huge fan of Ricky Gervais. So big, in fact, that I listened to his podcast and the old XFM radio recordings he did with Stephen Merchant and Karl Pilkington every night while going to sleep. Got one of those headbands. So I'm certainly not a hater. But when watching Ricky's new Netflix comedy special Mortality, I noticed that he used a joke originally delivered by Karl, and he did it without any acknowledgement. Now, for fans of Gervais, each special usually contains material from the podcasts and radio show, but usually they're his own observations, not someone else's joke. Now, it's not uncommon for comedians to employ writers for their specials, so I checked the credits of Mortality to see if Pilkington was credited. He wasn't. The only writing credit belongs to Gervais. The joke in question, that I'm about to show you, is in relation to the idea of transplanting a head onto a different body.
They can transplant every organ now. Whatever's got... Transplant every organ. Not your brain. That wouldn't make sense. You are your brain. So that would be an everything else transplant, wouldn't it? But I'd sign up for that. I don't care about this. It's to get this round. If I could leave £1 million to science, so when I died... Suppose when I died, my body's crushed, killed instantly, but my head's intact. They keep that on ice, wait for a body donor. Some poor bloke gets his head crushed, put my head on his body, and I'm back. I know. Statistically, I will get a bigger penis as well, so the odds are in my favour there, trust me. I wake up in the future, I see the scar and I go, oh, that's all right. You know what I mean? I go, oh, you've always wanted a big knob? I go, yeah, I've always wanted a big knob. I go, let's have a little bit of me time, shall we? And I start, but then every time I look down, I go, oh, that's not my knob. Do you know what I mean? I go, oh, that's not my knob. Oh, that's not my knob. It's not my hand either, carry on. It's like, you know what I mean?
Funny stuff, but it's that last line that's the bone of contention. And that last line, oh, that's not my knob. It's not my hand either. Carry on. That punchline is lifted from a conversation Gervais had with Pilkington back in 2006 on the Ricky Gervais Show podcast.
I'm not being funny though. So if you have a body transplant, right, and you're there, you're at home, naked, you look down, lovely penis and a set of testicles.
Yeah.
Right? What do you do with them?
What do you mean? What am I doing with them?
Well, do you like them?
Well, you wouldn't mess about with them as much as if they were your own.
But if you did mess about with them, would you feel guilty that you were messing about with another man's testicles and penis?
And it's the full body.
Yeah.
No, because they're not my hands either.
You're a genius! You're a fucking genius!
He is a genius. Now, you see that. There's no doubt in my mind the joke belongs to Karl, despite Gervais being part of that conversation which led to the punchline. The question is whether Karl approved the use of the joke in Ricky's Netflix special. Was it simply used without attribution? While there's not much that can be done in a legal sense when it comes to stealing jokes, a comedian often faces backlash within the community if caught doing so. Really is frowned upon. The irony here is that Gervais called out James Corden back in 2022 over a blatant joke theft. Corden read out a joke prepared by a writer on his Tonight Show, which Gervais had originally delivered in his 2018 comedy special. Gervais tweeted about the joke theft before quickly deleting it, but that didn't stop him from liking a string of tweets calling Corden out. So let's hope Ricky had Karl's permission to use the joke, otherwise it can only be labelled as theft. But even if he had permission, Karl at least should have been credited. It's only January and I'm already on a rant. And it's all thanks to the PR team at Endemol Shine. In December, I wrote an exclusive story on claims the producers of Big Brother had manipulated the outcome of the show. Now, it's been alleged production staff colluded with housemates while microphones and cameras were switched off in the diary room. The information for this story came from trusted sources from within the production unit. Endemol Shine has, in my opinion, lied about what happened inside the house and defamed my reporting. So let me take you through it. On Monday, 15 December, I sent an email to Endemol Shine asking for a statement about the claims, telling them the story would be published on Tuesday. After receiving no response, I delayed publishing the story and rang Endemol Shine at 1:28 p.m. on Tuesday, 16 December. I confirmed the email had been received and passed on to the PR team, but no response was forthcoming. The story was published at 6 a.m. on Wednesday, 17 December on the TV Black Box website. Here are the claims as per my reporting. A car giveaway during this year's finale of Big Brother Australia was intended to add a bit of drama to draw out the final result. What it ended up doing was exposing the manipulation behind the scenes that went much further than a bad edit. Production insiders have revealed to TV Black Box that producers from Endemol Shine spoke specifically to Alana Jackson and Bruce Doone before the finale, telling them to say yes to any challenge that came up during the live broadcast. Apparently, producers were keen to make sure there was more than one contestant vying for the car. Alana and Bruce were both unaware each had been told to take part. One person who was told not to take part was Coco Beebe. Producers knew she was winning the overall vote and made sure the viewers' favourite would not be eliminated before the votes were announced. The winner of the car had to leave the house, making themselves ineligible to win. If the competition had not been manipulated, as claimed, then it is possible Emily Dale could have won the $135,000 prize pool if Coco had decided to take part in the car challenge and won. The Daily Mail and news.com.au both followed up on the story, forcing Endemol Shine to take the inquiry seriously and put out a statement. That statement was then sent to me on Wednesday at 10:48 a.m, almost 5 hours after the story was published and days after they were asked for a comment. The claims made regarding the production of Big Brother Australia are false. Interactions in the diary room are limited to standard production safety and housemate welfare. The integrity of Big Brother and its results were never compromised. It was emphatic and damning. So I wrote back. Have the claims actually been investigated? The information comes from well-placed and trusted sources. And why has this statement only been provided after publication when I originally told you I would be publishing Tuesday morning, but I delayed and called to try and get a statement? You know, I still haven't received a response to those questions. And after checking again with my sources, my only conclusion is the PR team at Endemol Shine have lied. It's a cover-up. Otherwise, they would have responded to my initial inquiry. And if that's the case, their lies have essentially defamed my reputation as a credible source of information. It's worth noting Endemol Shine Australia went on the hunt for the leakers. That's what I'm told, despite saying the story was wrong. My record on scoops is pretty high, so if I get something wrong, I always take full responsibility. But not this time. I believe my reporting to be fair and accurate. And I faced a backlash over that statement from ESA. I was attacked on Media Spy as being unreliable with the truth. 2 stories on Australia's biggest online publishers have accused my reporting of being incorrect, based on that statement by Endemol Shine. Again, a statement I believe to be a lie. So should PR people be held accountable for their lies? Should they be able to hide behind the title of spokesperson when spreading false information? Previously, I held the ABC publicity department to account for the way they behaved when I had an exclusive story and they spoiled it after I went to them for a statement. I received major backlash for daring to call out PR people, but it doesn't seem fair to me that they can destroy reputations without consequences. So now I face a dilemma of whether to name the individual who knowingly or unknowingly defamed my reputation by claiming my story was wrong. There's also a question of whether the reporters of those stories on news.com.au and the Daily Mail should have approached me to find out whether I trusted my sources, but they didn't. Relationships with PR types is an important part of any beat. Reputations are important when knowing who can and can't be trusted. For example, that very same week, I heard a weird rumour about a high-profile presenter, so I contacted someone very high in the organisation to find out if it was true. A one-word answer came confirming the story was false. Because of that trust I have in that person, I dropped the story. PR people need to realise they only get away with lying once. Now I have no trust in the PR team at Endemol Shine, and I give this warning to every journalist to take anything they say with a grain of salt. As for the story itself, it does raise questions about how much Big Brother was manipulated. While we know reality TV has very little reality, a show like Big Brother is supposed to be as real as it gets, but now the outcome itself is in question. A comment by user IDC9 on the TV Black Box website summed it up best. These allegations are very serious. If Endemol Shine is found to have done what is being alleged, Ten should tear up any and all contracts they have with them and find new production partners to work with. While this would undoubtedly throw Ten's plans and schedules for 2026 and potentially 2027 into complete chaos, that is a small price to pay for ensuring that competition formats retain some degree of integrity and are not manipulated so brazenly by those who work on them. Some manipulation is sadly to be expected with these formats, but this is a bridge too far. I could not agree more. Newsrooms around the world were kept busy over Christmas after the tragic events at Bondi Beach. While the political fallout is still happening and there's a long way to go, another battle has played out in the media by those trying to secure the first interview with hero Ahmed Al-Ahmed. You've no doubt seen the video of him wrestling that shotgun out of the hands of Sajid Akram. It went viral around the world. Humans respond to visual stimulus, which is why seeing a video is more powerful than the written word. To see the brave actions has a more visceral reaction than any news report could. So, of course, the next stage was to try and secure an interview with the man now dubbed a hero. These interviews usually become a bidding war by TV networks who will reap the full benefit of having video of the interview. In the old days, 9 and 7 would be opening the checkbook to secure the exclusive. We'd then only find out how much was paid after the losing party would leak to the newspapers about how much their final offer was. Things are very different now. Declining ad revenue means TV networks, at least here in Australia, no longer have the deep pockets required to get interviews of this nature. But Sky News Australia, they gave it a go. In a fascinating piece written by Head of Programs Mark Calvert, we are given a blow-by-blow description on how far Sky went to try and secure the interview. Sky had good reason to believe they would get the world exclusive as Ahmed's team, there always ends up being a team with these events when they happen, they approached journalist Shari Markson from Sky. As per Calvert's article, events were moving quickly now. We started to put things in place. Ahmed's team were upfront that there would also be an interview with a US network, but Shari would get the only Australian TV interview, and the timing would mean they would both air at around the same time. Now, ultimately, the interview didn't take place with Sky, despite a direct promise by Ahmed. It will happen at 4 o'clock, he told me, Calvert continues. I told him that would be great, as I knew how much our viewers wanted to hear from him. I told him to focus on his health, on getting that treatment. Then we would see him later for our interview. He looked me in the eye, and in front of his lawyer, cousins, and the incredibly patient Crown staffer assigned to make his stay and our filming as smooth as possible. Ahmed gave me a solemn promise, uttering those 7 words, I'm a man of my word. Hours ticked by, calls and messages went unanswered. Former Australian TV presenter and journalist Anna Corrin, now at CBS in America, ended up securing the world exclusive.
Were you worried about the second gunman on the footbridge?
No, I didn't worry about anything. I was just, my target was just to take the gun from him and to stop him from killing a human being life and not killing innocent people.
It's so weird this interview didn't end up on the US version of 60 Minutes. But I put my producer's hat on, and I think the answer is pretty obvious. It's not a great interview, and this isn't Corrin's fault. Sometimes talent, despite their heroic actions, don't make great talent. His English is broken, so sustaining a 12-minute or an hour-long episode would be quite difficult, and he's not giving that emotion. So that makes getting the exclusive great, but you can't really reap the rewards from that exclusive. And CBS ended up just throwing it everywhere. It was in their nightly news, it was on some local stations, and bits and pieces of the interview have come out, but not that big special you would expect for an exclusive interview. Now, Sky News has come under fire for trying to turn the hero into a villain because they didn't get the interview. Now, I don't believe that was their intention. Sure, when you read the article, there is a level of frustration in how everything played out. But it's also a unique insight into how negotiations happen behind the scenes. Full disclosure, Mark Calvert was once my boss at Channel 9, and I've seen negotiations like this play out. And you might think you've got the interview, and then someone comes in, and it's usually money, that gets them across the line with someone else. Ahmed has every right to agree to an interview with whoever he wants, even if that means breaking a promise. And again, presumably for a big payday. During his negotiations with Anna Corrin and CBS, you would have to imagine part of their conditions would be worldwide exclusivity. The Sky News article does not mention anything about payment, so it could be assumed they were hoping to get the interview on goodwill. Remember what I said about Australian media no longer having the money to pay for these types of interviews anymore. Now, according to the SMH, the 10 network, which is owned by the US broadcaster CBS, said the interview with Al Ahmed did not involve payment. Sorry, but I call bullshit on that. US news organisations will publicly say that they never pay for interviews, and they don't directly. But they do pay for things like licensing. They pay for photos so they can claim editorial independence. The talent will be put up in fancy hotels, offered flights overseas, and pictures used could be licensed for hundreds of thousands of dollars per pic. So while it's true the network didn't pay per se for the interview, it's disingenuous to suggest no money exchanged hands. And by the way, I have no problem with that. Why shouldn't Ahmed make as much money as possible to tell his story? CBS will make money from the advertising around the interview, and the exclusive promotes the CBS News brand, showing it can get top interviews. They make money from it, so why shouldn't the talent? Co-owner of TV Black Box, Kevin Perry, had a good exclusive over Christmas. During an interview with former Melbourne radio king Neil Mitchell, he revealed his Neil Mitchell Asks Why podcast had been cancelled by Nine. Considering how popular Mitchell is in Victoria, it was no surprise to see the Herald Sun jump on the story. But did they credit the original article? Of course they didn't. Journalist Fiona Byrne obviously presumed that because she followed up on the story and asked Mitchell directly, and because he gave a quote, there was no need to give the original article credit. Now, considering how much journos at News Corp complain when other media don't credit their reporting, the hypocrisy is outstanding. It's astonishing. And it seems to be an ongoing issue in this country that journalists can't acknowledge the work done by their colleagues. In America, reporters credit each other all the time, even acknowledging their own sources have confirmed the reporting of a rival outlet. She could have said, broken by TV Black Box and confirmed by this columnist. It's about time Australia grew up and made crediting journalists who break stories just the norm. Let's grow up. Let's do the same as America. Get over yourselves. It's time for this week's edition of Shit I Don't Care About. And what's hilarious is that I launched this in the last episode of 2025 and the reaction was amazing. So it's here to stay, I guess. Now, I originally started caring about this story, but things took a turn and now I just don't give a shit. A story in the Daily Telegraph last week dished the dirt on a TV reporter who was apparently left in tears after a heated run-in with police at a dramatic incident. Reporter Zara Powell had the yarn, which certainly caught my attention. The story appeared in her new weekly Messy Monday column, which is described as dishing up the juiciest whispers and scandals making waves across Sydney's social scene. And a version of it was even posted on the telly's social media pages, with Zara supposedly revealing all.
Happy Messy Monday, everyone. Now, which TV reporter was left in tears after a fiery clash with police? Yeah. So it all went down at a dramatic emergency that triggered this huge exclusion zone and heavy police response. So this TV reporter was on the scene, but sources say they moved a bit too close, very close, while trying to grab vision, even after being told repeatedly to step back. So pretty silly. Police claim those directions were ignored and the situation escalated fast. So witnesses say an officer eventually snapped, raising their voice and ordering the reporter out of the area, and then warned that they could be charged. No one wants to be charged. So after that, the reporter was apparently left very shaken and in tears. And that's understandable because no one wants to go to jail. So we are told things have since been smoothed over behind the scenes, but that was not after the network lodged a strongly worded complaint with senior police. So pretty messy if you ask me. And just a reminder, Messy Monday is for our ears only, and see you next week.
Now, this is a cracking story, but it's missing some vital ingredients. Facts. Details. The story contained no names, no revelations about which TV network was even involved. It was nothing more than pub gossip, not journalism. Now, I don't doubt the accuracy of the story. Zara seemed to have all the details, even revealing the network involved lodged a strongly worded complaint with senior police. But what is the point of a story like this without actual details of those involved? If the incident happened as alleged, then it's not defamatory. So why did the telly not name names? Was it to protect one of their own, a working journo? Because let's face facts, the same consideration is rarely given to normal punters caught up in a story. So why the special treatment just because the person involved in this story works in the media? And if this is the best this column can do, then why even bother? A column like this needs to give real details if it wants to have impact, especially within the industry. For now, I'll be giving it a miss and adding it to my list of shit I just don't care about. All right, that brings us to the end of this edition, the first edition of Media McKnight for 2026. We'll be back next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time at youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. My Hot Topic show, McKnight Tonight, returns Monday at 9. I hope to see you then. There's a lot to discuss. I'm Rob McKnight. It's good night from McKnight.